I want to send a special thank you to all my new subscribers. If you have not subscribed, make sure you do so and hit that bell so that way you receive notifications when I upload videos. So y'all favorite artist Tekashi 6ix9ine, whose government name is Daniel Hernandez, was in court this week and he testified as a witness for the feds against 4 of his former associates from the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods gang in New York. They are all under federal indictments and they've been arrested since November of last year. Allegedly, from what the feds are saying, for participating in criminal activities such as narcotics trafficking, robbery, and murder. Now, the 4 people that were arrested along with 6ix9ine is Jamel Jones, who went by Mel Murder, Kefano Jordan, who is Shotty, Jincel Butler, who is Ish, and Fahim Walter, who went by Crippy. Now, this indictment included 8 counts in total, and they all stemmed from 3 separate incidents that occurred last year. Now, the first incident happened on April 3rd near Times Square, and that's where they had a video of 6ix9ine along with other members of the 9 Trey gang showing that they assaulted and robbed a man at gunpoint. And during that robbery, they had taken a backpack, which the feds later found in 6ix9ine's apartment when they raided his apartment. And so that is what ultimately tied 6ix9ine to that robbery. Then the second incident occurred April 21st at the Barclays Center Arena, and that is the video that was recently released where it shows there was a argument that occurred between 6ix9ine's crew and Casanova's crew. And during that argument, someone from 6ix9ine's crew shot at Casanova. Now, the third incident happened July 16th, where they were basically planning an attack on an individual. And they conspired to commit murder of this individual because they felt like this person was being disrespectful to the 9 Trey gang. And in the midst of this attack, an innocent bystander was shot. Now, the feds were claiming that the 9 Trey gang was running rampant through Manhattan, Bronx, and Brooklyn, just committing criminal activities. And so they tied 6ix9ine to this gang because, of course, 6ix9ine's all over social media, putting everything out on Instagram, telling all the activities and everything that they were doing all over Instagram, and you know the feds were watching. So they tied 6ix9ine to this gang since back in 2017. And basically, 6ix9ine was brought in as a source to fund the gang, and in return the gang provided him with protection. And so, you know, you have a young guy, 22 years old, 21, 22 years old, running around. He's got protection from the gang. He's able to imitate being a gang member. He got a bit cocky, so he's running around creating drama, terrorizing people all over social media, running from state to state, creating drama. He's just being a class act, a clown all over, each state. And so he had beef with a lot of people. One of them was Trippie Redd, where y'all saw that escalated all over Instagram. And he later admitted in court that he had Trippie Redd assaulted in New York. And so he had the beef with Tato, who is Chief Keef's cousin, over Cuban Doll. And y'all saw that spill out over social media. He put that online. And then that brought in Little Reese. So he's over there messing around with Tato's girlfriend at the time, who was Cuban Doll. Then he was seen with Chief Keef's baby mama, trying to create an issue between them two. And then it somehow brought in Little Reese. And y'all know Little Reese and Chief Keef is highly respected in Chicago. And 6ix9ine is over there taunting them. They're basically telling them, you're not allowed to come to Chicago. You know, something's gonna happen to you if you come out here. So what does 6ix9ine do? He flies out there to Chicago, stands in the middle of Lil Reese's neighborhood in his hood, and videotapes himself walking around saying that nobody did nothing to him. Everybody was sleeping. So, you know, that caused a frenzy all over social media. And then later on, Chief Keef ends up going out to New York to do, it could have been like a business meeting, but somebody shoots at Chief Keef while he's outside of his hotel. So that thing, it was just starting to really escalate. Then he had a beef with Jay Prince Jr. because he wasn't allowed to go to Jay Prince Jr.'s birthday party. And he felt like he was being disrespected. So they in turn decided to retaliate, and by trying to rob a rap-a-lot artist while he was out in New York. Now that was caught on tape, but there's question as to who the person was that they were robbing, because 6ix9ine says that was a rap-a-lot artist, and Jay Prince, the father, who's highly respected in Houston, said it wasn't. So I guess that's up in the air. Then he has this beef with Casanova, and then he had another beef with Ludacris, and that list goes on and on and on and on. This guy was just out here doing whatever it is that he wanted. And so there was repercussions that was coming from that, because he's pissing everybody off. People are telling him he can't fly to their state. You know, there's a whole bunch of stuff that was going on. And so he's out not only creating drama with other artists, he's out here messing around with all these other females. And at the time he was dating his baby moms, who is Sarah Molina. And so she's catching him cheating on her. So now she comes out in February last year basically saying that he was beating her throughout the 7 years that they were involved with each other. And then there was, you know, whispering going through the streets talking about how Sarah was sleeping with Shawty. And y'all know Shawty and 6ix9ine was very close with each other. Shawty was the one who worked with 6ix9ine on booking all of his shows and stuff. So, you know, he was running with that crew. You know, they were providing protection for him. And so to turn around and hear that Shawty is possibly sleeping with your baby mama, you know, that's probably where everything started to go sour. And so every time, according to Sarah, she said that 6ix9ine kept trying to confront her about the whole situation with Shawty, and Shawty was always stepping in and intervening. So y'all know that somebody was in 6ix9ine's ear about those two. And people are saying that there was a live that they did together where they were looking real close, you know, in a way that they shouldn't have been. Now, I have to say that Sarah and Shawty both claimed that that was not true. They never slept together. But if somebody's in 6ix9ine's ear, of course, he's going to start to see things that he didn't see before. So I think this is probably during the time that he started to pay attention to certain things. And then in July, around between February and July, he started to distance himself from people of the gang. One of those people were Harv, who was his bodyguard. One of those people was Harv, who was the bodyguard. And I guess it was an issue between Harv and Shawty. So 6ix9ine started to distance himself from Harv. And in July is when they conspired to kidnap and rob him, 6ix9ine. So they caught 6ix9ine coming. I think he was coming from the studio. They kidnapped him, they robbed him, beat him up, took his jewelry. There's a video that came out this week on this as well. But what he said was that he recognized Harv's voice. And I don't know if they put something over his head, but he said he recognized Harv. And a guy by the name of Shaw was there too. So not only are these people that you used to run with, you know, these are people that you used to put money in their pocket and make sure that they were good. So now he's really starting to look at this gang. And then in August, when he was doing a video with 50 Cent, that video shoot got shot up. Okay, so these are like warning signs for him. And then in November, when he was, they had rented out that big home to shoot the video. I believe it was Fifi with Nicki Minaj and Kanye West. That video shoot got shot up. Now that one was a more serious one because somebody could have got hurt. Now they rented out the house and gave 6ix9ine a room in the house. It was supposed to be the biggest room. He ends up giving that room to Nicki so that way she's comfortable. She has space for her team when they come. And that entire room got shot up. But luckily Nicki didn't arrive on time, because had she arrived on time, they would have most likely been hurt in that room. But he did note that there was only a certain amount of people that knew where that location of that home was and where they were shooting. And his security detail was one of the people that knew. And members of the gang, certain members of the gang was people that knew as well. So it was only, he was able to kind of pinpoint who knew where his location was. So he knew that that was an inside job. Somebody gave that information out. So then shortly after that, there was an issue with some shows that was booked for him to do. It was 5 shows and he was supposed to receive a certain amount of money, and he didn't. He received a portion of that money, and he basically said that Shotty was stealing from him and pocketed $3 million from that deal that was done for those shows. And so at that time, he thought he didn't receive all the money, so he wasn't going to do the shows. And come to find out, he did receive that money. That money was sent through Shotty's people, but he just never got the full amount. And so when he found that out, he cut ties with Shotty in November. And he basically distanced himself from the entire gang. Now, he was still on the hook for those shows. And so the booking agent who was working with Shotty and them allegedly gave the promoter the address to his mother's house and basically said, listen, I booked these shows for him. He's not going to show up. Don't come after me. Go after his mom. And that was a way, it was basically to make him do those shows. Now, the promoter was a good dude, and so he let him know what happened. Like, hey, they passed me your mom's address. And so this is stuff that he went on The Breakfast Club and he talked about. So if you haven't seen that interview, it's on The Breakfast Club. You can take a look at it, but he goes on there and he disowns the entire crew, basically fires everybody and claims that they all was extorting him for money. So looking back at this whole situation, almost everybody is to blame, because Tekashi 6ix9ine was never a gang member, and he should have never been allowed to pretend as though he was. The gang just wanted those funds. They wanted that money, and they allowed him to do a lot of things that regular people wouldn't have been able to do. And it was all because he was paying them for protection. And he was able to go and disrespect people, especially people that was highly respected in certain neighborhoods, in certain states. All because he wanted to chase clout and popularity. And so it really made members of that gang look bad, because it's like, what are y'all doing? Y'all allowing this fake rainbow hair guy to walk around and claim that he's 9 trade, throwing up these gang signs, and he's not even a respected gang member. He didn't get jumped in, he nothing. He's never put in work. So people was looking sideways at Shotty and other people from the gang. Now, I must admit that Shotty was playing it smart. He was taking that money and he was building himself an empire. He created himself a record label and was, putting people on that label. So he was setting everything up for himself. Now, after he got arrested, they, blacklisted his record label. So none of the members that was on his label, nobody wanted to work with them. But I think what was going on is they were using 6ix9ine in the beginning to fund the gang, but they were playing chess and putting Shotty in place to take over as the person who was going to fund everything. If that record label would have took off really well, they didn't need 6ix9ine for his money anymore. So, now once the FBI watching, they've been sitting back watching everything, tapping all their phones, they're listening to everything. They've been trying to bring down 9 Trey for the longest time. If y'all don't know the whole history on the Bloods in New York, research it, because they've been trying to take down these gangs for years, and they've most likely been watching this gang for a very long time. And so they found an open hole that they could come into, seeing that there was issues going on between 6ix9ine and the gang, and the FBI pulled 6ix9ine in, had a private meeting with him and 6ix9ine's legal team, and basically warned him that the gang was putting out some serious death threats against him in the street, and they was putting hits out on him. And that's probably when they presented that call between Jim Jones and Mel Murder, because y'all know that they had that tapped, and that recording came out this week as well. So it was like everything was dropping after 6ix9ine testified. All these videos and taped phone calls just came out of nowhere and was dropped all on the internet. So listening to all this, and you're sitting in this meeting with the FBI, they're probably dropping double digits to you, telling you, listen, you're facing 47 years to life. You already had a case open in 2015 that you are currently on probation for. Y'all know about that case. He had pled guilty to making and distributing a sexually explicit video between him and a 13-year-old girl. And he later posted that video on Instagram. So he was still on probation for 4 years for that case. So they probably was telling him, listen, we're going to get you for that. You violated your probation. We got you all on video committing criminal activity. You're facing 47 years to life. And you're talking to a 21, 22-year-old guy. He's probably terrified because he's never been in trouble to this degree. So what does he do? He agrees to take a plea deal for a lower sentence. He agrees to cooperate with the feds as a witness to give them information on the crew and all of their activities, everything that they had done all the way up to that point. And so he gave up everybody when he testified this week. He talked about how Mel Murder was basically the godfather or the leader of the gang. He claimed that Cardi B, Jim Jones, Trippie Redd were all a part of the 9 Trey, but y'all need to look at that, because Cardi B, what has Cardi B been in? Cardi B has been involved in this whole political stuff going back and forth with Bernie Sanders. She's got behind Bernie Sanders. She's been speaking out against President Trump. And also, what's going on? She had that case against 6ix9ine's girlfriend, Jade. Where they beat up Jade in the club, allegedly. So she went to court for that. I think that case is still open. I'm not sure what they did with that. So how y'all not know that he didn't just drag Cardi B under the bus on behalf of his girlfriend, and then got Jim Jones dragged into the whole thing? Now if they sat down and showed him that phone call with Jim Jones, that's probably why he dragged Jim Jones down, because Jim Jones was on tape, talking about he needed to be super violated. So, and then Trippie Redd, he had an issue with Trippie Redd of his own. So he's probably just bringing all these people into this whole situation because he has his own issue with them. Then he testifies that he gave 9 Trey members $50,000 to rob and kidnap Harv. Now remember, Harv was the bodyguard that kidnapped him. And he was embarrassed about that kidnapping. But 6ix9ine was the one who fed all of that information to TMZ. So a lot of stuff came out in court this week. But yeah, so he paid them $50,000 to rob and shoot Harv for that kidnapping. He came out and told everything. I honestly think, and this is the way I'm looking at it, I think that 6ix9ine could have possibly been working with the feds way before last year. And the reason why I say that is because he had that case going since back in 2015. And y'all know that every time he did something, they were pulling him in, trying to arrest him, trying to get him to violate his probation. He was on bond during a certain time. They was trying to get him for violating his bond. Like, it was a whole bunch of stuff. They kept pulling him in because he was still tied to this open case. And then all of a sudden, he got probation and this case just went radio silent. Nobody's talking about it anymore. So my thing is, he could have been working with the feds way before he even met this gang. They could have been trying to bury him since then. And he probably made an agreement with them to get them to drop that case. And in return, you know, he would get in bed with this gang and provide information on a gang that they probably been trying to take down for a long time. So, you know, that's a possibility, because you have this major case going on with a 13-year-old girl. They have you on video and you got 4 years of probation. You didn't do a single day in jail except for waiting when they arrested you to see, you know, how the case was gonna go. But you wasn't locked up for this case. They basically dropped it for 4 years. You're on probation. And he turns around, wants to do a video. And in the video, he wants to have gang members present in the video. And this was back in 2017. And so on that set of that video is where he met Shotty. So it just seems like this stuff was probably being planted way before they said he came out and started talking. He probably was already working with them even before he met 9 Trey members in 2017. So that's just, you know, from me. That's what I'm thinking. Now, the bottom line is this. There's so many artists out here that are glamorizing gang culture in their music. You are feeding information to the government, to the feds, on a way to put you behind bars. You've got to stop detailing illegal activities that you're doing on social media. Stop filming that stuff. You need to watch who you keep in your circle. If somebody seem like they ain't right, if it don't smell right, it ain't right. I keep saying that in every video that I talk about. Y'all need to watch who you're around. You know that they've created prisons to keep Black and brown people incarcerated at higher numbers. And y'all know that mass incarceration started from this whole war on drugs. And so what did they do? Y'all know that they've dropped guns, they've dropped drugs into Black and brown communities, in lower income communities, and they basically watch you guys kill each other. And anybody that's left over, they arrest you and they give you long sentences and they hope that you die in prison. So after 6ix9ine, you know, testified, Shotty's already got 15 years from this indictment that he was under. So he's already done his trial. He's already got his sentence. He's going to be in jail for a very long time. He's not going to be able to see his family. He's not going to see his kids, all because of participation that he was in with criminal activity. So 6ix9ine basically came in and created havoc amongst an entire group of people. And it isn't only 6ix9ine's fault. The gang has to take responsibility for that as well, Because had you kept your circle tighter and not allowed somebody you didn't know to come in and infiltrate your team, you wouldn't have had this problem. So, you know, you just got to be careful, like I said, who you put in your circle. 6ix9ine, the way it looks right now, he thinks he's going to get out. And the only reason why he's thinking that is because they're telling him that. Somebody from the FBI is telling him that he's not going to do much time because of his testimony, because of how much information he's given. He's not going to do no time. He's not pulling that out his behind. Somebody's telling him that. I honestly think that they're going to give him time served. If anything, they might make him do a year, but I feel like they're going to give him time served. They're probably going to take him, put him in protective custody. He probably will have some type of facial surgery where you can't even recognize this dude no more. They're going to remove all those tattoos off his face. They're going to cut all that rainbow hair off. They're going to dye that hair a certain color. You probably won't even recognize this guy, and they might put him somewhere across the world in a country that nobody even knows who he is. So he done brought down a whole gang, gave these people double digits in prison where they're going to be away from their family, and he got to walk away scot-free. It just seems like there's more to this. Now, I don't know. That's just my speculation. But y'all, with all this, y'all putting information on social media, you're setting yourself up for failure. You know that they're sitting and they're watching you, and they're looking for ways to lock you up for a very long time, and you're helping them dig your grave. So a word to the wise, stay off social media. It's not helping you. All right, so you guys, y'all tell me what your thoughts are, and I will see you in the next video.